Hello everybody, Visi here with a video about TV and how TV works. Now, quick disclaimer before we even start getting into this, and that is that I have done no research on how the US media and news outlets work, or any extensive on Swedish either. Here comes a gust of wind, damn it. I hope you can still hear me over this wind. But yeah, it's going to be about that. So, that disclaimer out of the way, this is basically mainly based on what I do know, which is quite little, but what I've seen, what I've observed, and the little bits I do know about how news work and shit. And also, disclaimer, I am very biased. I do not like news. Now, some know that I have a diagnosis, and it sometimes means I have hard to take sarcasm. Now, often I do get sarcasm now more, I feel. Definitely more than I used to do. Like 8 years back, I would not have gotten sarcasm if you gave it to me. But, quick story, back when I was like, I don't know, 7, 8, something like that, there was a Carl von Linné. You might know him. He's quite famous in the world of nature science. There was a thing about him, and basically I knew all the answers because I was obsessed with nature back then. And then the local newspaper wrote an article about this, where basically, now I'll replace my real name here, but Visi stole Cohen, which basically means Visi stole the show. Now, looking back at it, I can see that it's a saying, it's a way of putting it. But back then, I didn't get that. And couple that with, I feel like often news just take up the bad stuff. And yeah, you got a kettle. I'm a very positive guy. I like to think things very positively. I like to see the bright side of life, always. There's always a positive. Never think there's not a positive. There's always something good you can abbreviate from something. Anything. Toss it at me. Give me any occasion in history, and I will be able to find something positive about it. I challenge you. But oh well, let's get on topic. I've given disclaimers, and now comes wind again. God damn it. Shit. I'll be back. Okay, I think we're better now. We have gone down a little bit, and I've checked like how much the wind actually affects. We should be fine. Now, let's get to the meat of this. Now, news, to me, the ideal view, like what I see the news purpose is. Now, I remind you again, this is my opinion. It's not, facts. So don't quote me in any school work or anything, but in my opinion, news, their purpose is to give information to the people. But the problem that can arise is when you got privately owned news outlets. And now, here's a bit of more like background for this, and that is, I've turned 18 now, and this year it's election year in Sweden, which means I want to be up to date so I know who I'm voting for and know that I'm voting in a way that I feel is right. I'm not going to pass on up and not vote. That's not an option to me. That is a service to my country. I have that, at least that much national pride. And basically, I was thinking, like, as I realized this, oh shit, well, let's watch the news. I know I'm going to get pissed off. I know I'm going to feel like, oh shit, what is the world come to? But I flicked on news, and sure enough, there was, like, you know, the news about how a Russian spy and his daughter had been killed in Britain, and all that stuff. But the big thing that surprised me, that I got really happy about, was the fact that we got interviewed people from both sides of the story. Now we're going to loop back to the politics of America, mainly. Because getting both sides of the story is what you need to be objective. And when you're supposed to report, which I think that's the purpose of news, is to report to the people what's going on, you need an objective standpoint. You need to have both sides of the argument. Every time I see friends of mine get in an argument, I get both sides. I want to understand it. Even when I get in a tussle with someone, if we disagree on something, I want their side of the story so I can understand. So I can get, even if we part ways potentially forever, I want to have their side of the story. And that really filled me with joy to see these news reports about how the school, for example, there's one party wants to pass a law banning that you have phones up in class, to basically give that ability to point to that. Still letting teachers, say, okay, we're sure, use your phones in my class, but having that option to point to the law. And then you got their side of the story, and then you got the other side of the story, and they interview them. It wasn't a debate. There wasn't a chance for things to get, heated between two people. There was also debates. Don't get me wrong. They took in people into the studio, had them talk. But even then, it was civil. And to me, that's very important. Now, let's get to the ugly stuff. Let's stop beating around the bush and get to what is annoying, frustrating. Let me shake so I don't get water into my phone. And that is the advent of privately owned news outlets. Now, the channel I watch my news on is the state-owned SVT1. This is a state-run channel. It does not have any ads on it. It does not have any, advertising. I don't think they get any revenue or anything. They are state-funded. Tax money that people in Sweden pay go to fund this thing. And that means that they can be completely unbiased and be perfectly fine. They don't have to report on the biggest thing that will get the most viewers in. They can report on smaller things. And I love one thing they have initiated, which is they report on all of Sweden, the world, and then after that you have a second bit of news, which is local news, which is, for me, South Sweden, Skåne. We get news about what's going on in our area, and to me that's great, because you get a big view of the world and stuff, and then you get near you, and all the time you get these even arguments. But then you get, if we start to dig, you get into the fact of there are privately owned, and now my brain is starting to spin on the idea of privately owned school as well, but that's a topic for another time. Let's tackle one thing at a time. I'm going in among trees right now, so we should be a bit better with audio. But you got these state-owned, privately owned news outlets. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. I hope I'm wrong. Or maybe not. Maybe this is the best thing because it gives them motivation. If a privately owned channel wants to earn anything, basically what they can sell is exactly the same thing that YouTube can sell. And that is ad space. They can sell, okay, we show Fångarna på fortet. I don't know what it is in English. I know there's an English version which is basically like a group, 2 teams on a fort. They tackle different rooms with challenges and stuff, and then eventually in a room where tigers usually roam. Fun stuff. That go on channel 4 here in Sweden. And there you got ads. And now I think we have much less in Sweden, from what I can see. But the few times that I've watched something like Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon, I mean, how much ads is it in one episode of The Penguins from Madagascar? Say you have 4 commercial breaks, and each is, I'd say they could be 10 minutes, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're 5 minutes. That's 20 minutes of ads. That's basically, like, that's almost as much as the episode itself in just ads. And, that is a way they can earn money. I'm perfectly fine with that. Everyone has to find a way to earn their living. Heck, I need to do that. I can't live off my writing, especially not with my current prices. I would not be able to sustain that. But also commissions are closed for now. But I'm fine with the ads. But then you come to something I've heard about, slightly seen with channels in America, where you'll have a news broadcast from a channel, and this channel is right or left leaning. And now it's understandable. These places are run by people. People tend to have the same view when they work together. It eases work, but it also means that their placement is biased. If a heavily right-leaning, and now I'm not saying like everyone on the right is like that or everyone on the left is like that. No, heck, I cannot be asked to name the aspects of left and right on the top of my head. I'll not be fast, and I feel like I might be wrong if I try to answer that question. But if someone who's leaning to the right a lot is like reporting on, say, a catastrophe, and now I might be saying absolutely wrong right now, but I think it's that right is pro-guns in America. I'm not sure, okay? So this is an example. If I get the right and the left wrong, that's just me. I'm just giving an example. But say, if I'm right, the right is pro-guns, the left is no guns. And a right-wing news broadcast reports on, and now, I'm not trying to be insensitive or get views here, it's just what comes on the top of my head. I have no script for this. If there's a school shooting, and the right wing is like, oh shit, a school shooting, guns, how do we deal with this? Okay, maybe I should take a left wing then. A heavily left-leaning person will be like, okay, let's report about this. Let's talk about how guns is destroying the country. And they'll talk about that. They'll report, interview a scientist or a sociologist or whatever who reinforces their point that guns are bad. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, and please, I beg the world that I'm wrong in this, but I don't think they'll be interviewing a person who, you know, maybe sells guns or whatever. You know, a gun store owner who talks about, you know, guns are made to be safe, but they're also made to be easy to use. Or if they interview them, maybe they cut it shorter and, you know, select what they actually take in. Heck, if you took any section of this video, like a bit back, when I said, oh, there have been a school shooting, if you took that out of context, I would sound really bad, wouldn't I? But those who know me know that I am very much someone who values human life. And my motto is, give a smile, get a smile. So these things are real, like, I don't get how someone can go in and shoot up a school, but we're getting off topic. Back to news outlets. Now, this problem of how news tend to something also affects what they can report. Because a big news story will drag more attention. Heck, we have seen it all the time. You need big numbers. A paper that says small kid enjoys day at school will sell significantly less than 10,000 dead in car accidents. What will the person spend their money on buying? Of course they will take the big accident. It sounds more important, so to speak. But also 10,000 dead in a car crash, that would be one hell of a car crash. But that's side talk. But this aspect seeps into it. You want the big news, you want big stuff. And that means that positive news don't get a spot. And that in turn leads to, you know, you can't really express or feel safe. That's what I'm after. You can't get a feeling of, oh, well, it's safe in the world. Or at least the world is getting better. Because the world is getting better, believe it or not. Look up Hans Rosling. That guy knew his stuff. I'm so sad to have known that he passed away like a year ago. But he talked about how the equality is actually rising. How third countries are going upwards. But we keep hearing news. I know that, I don't know, I'm not sure if it was him or someone else that pointed out that news reports about airplane crashes have gone like this. Now, you might say, oh yeah, obviously we have more airplanes, but no, the actual amount of airplane crashes have gone downwards in the same, on the same angle, by the way. And to me, that's just stupid. It's so silly to see these. Oh, goose. Gee, geese. Where are they? There, I think. I think that's them. But yeah. It's just so frustrating. Now, to get political, which, yeah, people dread to get political. I don't give a single shit. You know? Sensitive topics need to be discussed in order for them to be able to develop. If we don't talk about sexual abuse, about rape, about politics, about all these things that people deem taboo, we cannot develop. Sorry, that is just something that's very dear to me. Something I'm very freaking keen about, because god damn it, people, open your goddamn mouth. But yeah, to get political, a trend I feel like I've seen, but I don't have any data on this, so don't quote me on this, but it feels like in order to be able to actually make it in today's political space, you can't be in the middle, or you can, maybe you can be in the middle, but then you have to be in the exact middle. And then still, you don't have the best chances. You're much better off being to the right or left. And if you're on the right, you have to be very much to the right in order to make it big. And if you're on the left, you have to be very much to the left. And I realized I was on the wrong sides. It doesn't actually connect to the point I usually like to think of, which is that the political spectrum is actually more like a ring than a gradient, but whatever. But yeah, with that, this aspect of you have to be extreme in one or the other direction, that also affects news. I know I watched a video by the YouTube channel Just a Robot a while back, and it was about Trump and, you know, being elected and that. And here's the interesting thing. He had voted, actually, you should probably go watch it, but if you disagree with what I'm about to say about him, you know, accept that. But he voted for Trump, him named that. And then he mentioned, you know, why he did it. And to me, that's very good, you know. He expressed it. I'm not sure if I agreed with, you know, what he said. Or, well, agreed with, you know, voting Trump. You know, I don't stand really on either side of that. I haven't quite made up my mind, especially after this video and what he mentioned. One of the things is how media had cut things. Now, I have a lot of friends who are LGBT or women or whatever, you know, people that generally Trump mentioned he didn't like, or at least people who he got on his bad side, to say the least. And now that, in hindsight, definitely colored my view on Trump. I didn't look at him objectively, which I definitely should have. But you know, I'm more centered with my friends. Friends are more important than an objective view of things sometimes. I'll admit that fault. But the big thing, and let me actually save this file. There we go. The big thing is that one of the big mentions. I'm going around the topic, aren't I? But I'm not cutting things. Sorry, Just a Robot, if you're watching this, but I do minimal editing. Okay, that's how I do things. One of the big things Trump have been quoted about is grab them by the pussy, and that mention, that quote, is something to me, you know, what the hell, man? But then just in this video by Just a Robot, he extrapolated on what it's taken from. And that is Trump mentioning that as a celebrity, he could do that. Now, I have not heard a speech, but judging by what Just a Robot does generally, what he says, how he's open about, you know, having things in his description. I've checked his description sometimes. They have details. They have things about what he's talking about. And that transparency to me is a vouch of trust. It's basically validating his words a lot. But this part that it's cut up, to me, that is very much a part of this thing of media want a juicy story that they can sell. And that's what's privately owned media ends up becoming. The way they earn their money is by getting views, by getting people seeing them. It's sad, but that's how it is. That's consumerism for you. I'm not saying consumerism is wrong. Heck, I think it has a lot of good sides. But when information becomes a commodity, I can't help but feel it gets a bit bad. Now, to me, there is an option. And here in Sweden, I feel like we have it. And that is to have a state-owned channel. Now, the state-owned channels in Sweden have a long history. Back in the day, state-owned channels was all we had. I think that also applies for Britain. I'm not sure in the US. Again, don't have any data on this, haven't done any research. I'm just tossing my views on things out here. It comes from a place of art. And having these state-owned things that don't need any income. They don't earn anything. They don't earn a crown. As far as I know. If they do, I have no idea how they do it. Because, they have no ads or anything. They just show things. It's a possibility to be objective. They don't need views. So instead they can focus on what's really important, and that's delivering information to the public. So yeah, that's really what I think about it. The important aspect in the modern world of news and politics, we need something that's objective. You need a channel, a state-owned news broadcast that don't have to be afraid, that can just say what they want to have said, to express what's important, not say what they want to have said, but say what's true. Or at the very least, what's currently the view of truth. What does the data point to? That's what you need. So, until next time, thank you all for watching this. I know it was long. It definitely went on longer than I'd expected. I was thinking 15 minutes or something. This is more 20 or something. But I'm glad if you stuck with me to the very end. If you did that, I have no idea how you managed. But thanks for hearing me out. This was my view on politics and news and left and right in the modern world. So thank you all for listening. Stay happy. And until next time, see ya.